We all don't see it. I fell on my path in life. I never wanted to be a fighter in a million years. I didn't. I was asked what my best day I can remember. My best day I can remember growing up was laying on my couch at home. I think it was about 9 or 10. I was off school one day, and Mum was hoovering up. I was laid on the couch thinking, God, life can't get any better than this.
Oh.
Even now at 59, I think, and the reason why is because it was stable, it was safe, it was love. And I just think, and I try and create that for my kids. Children today, they've got different distractions in life, but I want my kids to always know where I am, always know they've all got a key to my house. There's enough key and food in the cupboard so they can come and shop, take out or cook or whatever. I'll cover where there's food there. There's always something there. So no matter what happens in their life, they always know my home is their home. Mm-hmm. So that's the only bit of stability I can create for them because they're adults now. Mm-hmm. So, and if I was fortunate enough to financially take care of them where they didn't have to do anything, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because where would their education come from?
Yeah.
So to me, I think I do all I can. Wealth is not what's in your pocket or your bank. Wealth is the stability and love you can create for yourself first and then for your loved ones.
But what you've just said is really important because you say for yourself first, and I talk about this a lot because I always talk about self-love. And it's the hardest thing to do sometimes because if your fundamental foundations have been broken either through bullying or abuse or poverty or, whatever it is, and I say this a lot, you will reject the part of you that has been rejected by others and you will present the part of you that has been accepted by others. So you become disassociated and disconnected from the core self. And you can't love yourself if you're not loving the core.
Your aim is to love yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's really hard to do that. But the reason I say that is because what you've just said about your kids, and it goes back to family. It's what you said at the beginning, and you've said it again there, that the wealth is the family, not the money, because you've obviously provided safety and love in whatever way that looks for you and your family, you and your children and your grandchildren. That is so, so important. Without that, the path to self-love, faith, hope, all of those things is a lot harder. I'm not saying it's not possible because there's so many people that have come from
some
broken
it's harder than others.
It is hard, yeah.
You could have been abused. You could have. There's so many things that have happened in the past. So for some people, it's harder to love oneself because of the journey they've been through.
Yeah.
Because of the scars they've picked up, or the energy they've picked up from somebody else.
Yeah.
And so again, it's because of somebody else, an outside influence that has infiltrated, poisoned the innocence.
Yeah, it is.
So it's understanding to get through that. You've got to understand. I've got to get to a point where I love me. If I listened to everybody that said I was a coward, that was no good, that I couldn't fight, you should walk away, I would never have set a world record of defences for world title. I would never still be a record holder.
Exactly, holding that record.
Yeah, so I would never have done all these things if I listened. Now, I did listen to those people, but then it got to a point where I understood that humans can be so cruel.
Yeah.
And now I just think, are you wicked, or is it just that you're expressing something in you that I'm either misunderstanding, you're misunderstanding me?
Hurt people.
Yeah. So what you do is you think, you know what, I'm not going to take it personal unless I know you personally.
Yeah.
Everyone's entitled to an opinion. So then you start on yourself.
Yeah.
Now, if I know I've trained right, I've prepped right, I've ate right, I've done everything correct, and somebody says I'm no good, well, that's your opinion. I've done everything correct. So the reason why I'm not getting it is because I've not got the experience, but I will get the experience, both good and bad, to get the wisdom. And it will slowly but surely that seed will grow and get bigger and get bigger. But now, people say, oh, Johnny, you're a ledge, well done. But I also know some of those people were the same people that said, you're no good. You're never going to do it in a million years. Now, the sweetest thing I could do is actually remind them of what they said. But why would I do that? Because I'm not doing myself any favours, because I think, you know what, they've got to learn their lesson in life. And me putting them down or ridiculing them and reminding them, how does that help anybody else? So I wouldn't want that on me.
Well, it's one foot in the past for a start.
Yeah. I tell the story about when I met the guy that first beat me as a professional, Brown. I think Peter Brown, his name was. and he was the first guy to meet me as a professional fighter. And years later, when I was world champion, I went out to a club with my mates in Hull, and my mates sometimes I try and take them everywhere I can with me, so they see what I see, because my friends from younger and my friends today, they are my friends. I meet many famous people, but my friends are my friends.
Yeah.
And so I went to the club, and my mate said, "Come on, Johnny, just get to the front of the queue." I went, "No, I ain't doing that, man. I'm not doing it." And so I got in the queue, and the bouncer looked and called me forward. "Johnny, what are you doing in the queue? Come on, mate, you're all right." It started raining. And as I got to the door, it was this guy, and he owned the bouncer. It was his company. And he said, "Come on, get inside, get yourself in there." Got one of the mates who used to take everybody into VIP. He said, Johnny, stop. Now I know he's been living on this. And he said, "Tell these lot, did you box me?" I went, "Yeah, I did." "What happened?" I said, "He beat me." He said, I told you, lads, I told you I beat him. So when I said, "Was he good?" I said, "He was very good, really good." I said, "He gave me a right beating." "I told you, he's just getting up these feet." "Yes, I've done it." And one of my friends, I think it was Willie. Willie was stood with me still. He's watching this conversation go by, and this guy's bigging himself up in front of one of his colleagues, staff. And then when we got inside the club, we sat down, giving us a drink and everything. And Willie said, "Why did you let him do that?" I said, "Do what?" He said, "Why did you let him big himself up on you? Make out as though, do that, kind of like try and talk you down in front of him." I said, "Well, you don't understand." I said, "Because he works for them and he sees them every day. So they're thinking, God, he's got one up on me." But one of them is going to have a smart mouth and say, "Well, if you were that good, how come you're out here in the rain and he's in there in VIP?" And that's not the only bit. And he'll be like, so he'll cause a bit of debate with him, but he'll go home that night and he'll think to himself, "But why is he? What did he do that I didn't do? How comes he's world champion? I beat him.
Yeah.
I was better than him."
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, it's going to open up Pandora's box, and you're going to think of all aspects in his life where there were choices and he chose other choices.
Yeah.
There were opportunities that he ignored.
Yeah.
So I don't have to say it. People have to realize it for themselves.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
so in that situation where people have said stuff, they can have that conversation with themselves, and it don't matter if they think I've forgotten. I don't need to remind them, because the honesty of it, they've got to realize for themselves, if they truly want to improve themselves or try and better themselves, they'll have a conversation with themselves and think, "All right, I get it.
Well,
it's a lesson learned in a different way.
I called you a wizard at the beginning of this. And there's a reason for that. And I did, relate that to your nutrition and fitness, but actually that all comes from the mind anyway. And truthfully, there's something really special about you. And I don't mean that in a, weird way. What I mean by that is, I think there's something different neurologically. because in a good way, because it's very rare you meet somebody that has been considered to be the loser or not as good as everybody else. That I know Brendan's got a lot to do with it, but it's not just Brendan. Like I said, you were meant to meet each other. There was something you were giving to each other. And there's something about the way your brain works. And I think it is because you're not academic, actually. And I think it is because you've actually got something much, much more, for most of us anyway, we would say this, much more grounded, a deeper understanding. It is like you've been here before. And to give that some science, because people will just think, oh, we're talking a lot of rubbish if they don't believe in all this stuff. When your body is buried into the ground, or if you're cremated and put into the sea, something is going to eat a part of who you are or who you were. And that something continues the ecosystem. So your body is part of the earth or part of the ocean. And we know that, well, according to physics anyway, that energy can never be destroyed. So the energy of who you were just goes into a different atmosphere and becomes something else. And the body of who you were becomes part of the ecosystem. And if that's the case, at some point, that insect that eats a part of your body and takes it somewhere else is going to procreate with something else. And so part of you is always being reborn in some way, shape or form. And so when you're talking like that, and that, like I say, you've got something really deep about an understanding. And it could be just experience, but I think it was there when you were a boy.
Yeah, well, you know what? I actually, and you're right. I just look at things differently. I know as I've done as a kid.
I know. I can see that.
Yeah, and so sometimes you'll tell me stuff, and I'm like thinking, I'm probably thinking on a completely different level of what you're explaining to me, and it might come across as though I'm not listening, or as I'm thick. I'm just like trying to figure out.
I can see it. It's all going on in the background.
Yeah. When I was younger, I used to dream a hell of a lot about things that came true. And I'm like, and I look back on it. I remember we lived in a house, 36 Sydney Road. It was in Crooksmoor in Sheffield, and we had a tin bath hanging on the back of the back door. That was our bath.
Wow.
Our toilet was outside in the bottom of the yard. We were never allowed in the attic. I'd never been in there when we lived in the house. Great memories there. I can remember getting a watch on the morning of my 9th birthday. I can remember thinking, I couldn't even really tell the time, but it was like a little watch. It wasn't a digital watch. I was laying in bed and Mum brought it to me. Our beds were old hospital beds, you know, the iron ones.
Yeah.
They were our beds.
Wow.
My mum worked in a mental hospital up the road, and we were that skin, you know, Christmas. She'd bring down the bags of the toys from the kids that they rejected.
Wow.
That they didn't have. But I understand poor, and I'm quite sure there are people less fortunate than myself. I understand not having, and I always have done it. And but I always dreamt a lot. And anyway, we moved out of the house, and I had a dream that I'd gone in the loft, and it was a red velvet carpet, and there was a treasure chest in there. So me and my friend Kenny Furness lived down the road. I went, Kenny, let's go and break in the house, because we boarded it up. And so we broke in the house, and we climbed in the loft. And because the house had been stood there a while, some tiles had come off. And as we got in the loft, there was a dusty red velvet carpet over this big bump. I'm like, huh? And we lifted it up, and it was in one of the old chests my mum obviously used to travel from Jamaica with.
Yeah.
And I'm still thinking, I said, I dreamt this? And we opened it, there was nothing in it. But what I'm saying is, but there were many things that happened in my life that I used to dream a lot about, and it happened in fights.
Yeah.
And I say, Bren, I've dreamt this. And Brendan would say, just don't tell anybody. And don't worry, but I'm going to win this. All right, just don't tell anybody. And I must admit, recently it stopped for a while, and last year or so it started again. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm comfortable saying it out loud because I'm only saying what I see.
Yeah.
But I just think we're all put on this earth for a reason.
Yeah.
We've all got a gift.
Yeah.
This isn't going down some heebie-jeebie line of thought. I'm just telling you what I see. I'm just telling you how I feel. I'm just telling you who I am. I should never have been world champion. Me, the young crybaby that people that know me, I should never be world champion. My sister could beat me up in our house. My sister and my brothers, they laughed when I started boxing because I was a crybaby. So, and even now, and my sister, like, she says, I'll tell people what you like. So even now, we stumble on our path in life. And I believe I've been here before. I believe I'll probably come here again if I've not learned this life's lesson. And I think we all have, but it's just a case of how courageous you are to look within yourself.
Yes.
It's just a case of how courageous you are to actually have faith.
Yeah.
Faith in your gut, faith in your instinct, faith in what you feel, faith in what you see, faith in your vision.
Intuition.
And maybe people do see or hear or think certain things, but they're too scared to say it because society would not accept that sort of stuff.
They're too scared to be themselves because, again, go back to what I said earlier. If parts of you have been rejected or when you've displayed those parts you've been hurt, your survival mode kicks in. And when you're in survival mode, yes, you might have some form of gut instinct, but it's based on a predator chasing you. It's not based on the person in front of you loving you. And so you become closed to love.
I used to mistake nerves for fear.
Yeah.
I tell kids this. There's a difference between nerves and fear. That feeling in your stomach, nerves and fear are exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I was told this by a professor that I met on holiday last year.
Physiologically.
When I was talking, she was sat there smiling, and afterwards she explained, like, really?
Yeah, physiologically it's the same.
So she said, so it's how your brain translates
Correct.
the fear and the nervous energy.
Yeah.
And so my brain translated it as fear, fight or flight.
Yeah.
Whereas most people translated it as nerve. Nerves are good. Nerves make you alert.
Yeah.
And so she actually explained to him, like, oh my God. And then I actually looked at why I was like that, why I was nervous. Because I was a nervous kid. I forgot I was a nervous kid. I forgot I was a kid that cried when an adult spoke to me.
Yeah.
I grew up and I hid behind this facade of boxing, and nobody actually really tested me. Tested that nervous kid. You know, when you're fighting, you can punch your way out of something.
Yeah.
My hardest slog was actually working on TV. Because when you're on TV and there's a camera in front of you, you're talking to the camera, there's thousands of people watching it.
Yeah.
You can't punch your way out of that nervous situation.
No.
You sat there, you're being judged on what you're saying, how you look, how you speak, your pronunciation. You can't do anything about that. I used to sweat like bad when I first started, when I had to read auto cue.
Yeah.
Because my reading was that bad and my shoulders had gone up and my shirt was sweating. I'm like, oh my God. To the point where I'd go to the toilet and get a lady's, is it a Tampax?
Yeah.
Put it under my arm.
Yeah, the sanitary pads.
Sanitary pads to soak the sweat up so you couldn't see. I'm trying to be cool.
Yeah.
You know, and that was more nervy than getting punched in the face because I could fight my way out.
Yeah.
But I was learning part of life's lesson to mature, part of life's lesson to deal with where I was supposed to end up in life. I don't think my life was set out to be a boxer. I think it was part of my life. I think the lesson learned through boxing, the lesson learned through meeting Brendan, the lesson learned through my family upbringing, that is all combined together that I'm put on this earth for. I'm at a different stage in my life now I always find it sad when an amazing artist or singer, whatever, passes away because of that talent they've got. I think, wow. So my job is what I've learned to pass it to someone else.
Yeah. And
so that gives me glee. Makes me think, you know what? Oh, I'm helping somebody else. I'm comfortable with that. And I look at boxing, I think today, and the world's so hard because social media has such an influence on youngsters. But I say it's self-validation. Stop being influenced by what you think he is doing or she is doing or how they are living, how he is living, or what you should be doing because he said something negative about you. Look at yourself. Self-validation. Once you believe in you and truly believe in you, taking all the trapdoors away, I am telling you, it'll be day and night.
Yeah, so true. I
day
agree.
And night.
And it's what I teach people all day, every day. And it takes a long time for people to trust that you're not just saying words because they might have been let down by other people before. And they don't necessarily trust that when someone is giving that love and that wisdom and that support, that it's going to stay. And they need to trust you first, which is what you and Brendan went through.
Yeah, that's why I said you need Brendan. You need someone that's going to create do self-love acts.
Yeah.
So you think, why have you done that? And you can't find a reason why they've done it apart from for you.
Yeah.
You understand? So, and that's when you think, you're my Brendan. You know, you're my Brendan. And that's how you figure out you just look and find that way.
So, look, I don't know if Brendan's energy can tap into what you're saying. And I know you speak about him a lot anyway. But what a lovely little phrase, you're my Brendan. Isn't it? So for people hearing that, like his legacy just lives on through hundreds and thousands of strangers every time you talk about it.
When he died at his funeral, there were thousands of people outside the cathedral in Sheffield. And people coming up saying, oh, Brendan, help me do this, that. And I'm thinking, when did he have time to meet you lot? Because he's a married man with 5 kids. He's got us nutters in the gym. Not just dealing with us, our family problems and issues that we'd have at school, but then he's helping people that had nothing to do. I'd never seen him at the gym. And I thought, how is it even possible? This guy did this.
Was he even real, Johnny?
That's what I'm saying. And honestly, it shocked me because people at the funeral, they say, help me do this. And I'm like, when? Because every time I was at the gym, he was there. He was always at the gym. But then I thought, there will never be another Brendan.
No.
And if I do anything, it'll be 1% of what he did. And that's 100%. An amazing man. The people, I'm just one of many of his students. And when you go in his house, and he'd have an amazing library, and his wife, Elma, really clever, posh lady. And Brendan would read a book, and if he didn't know a word, he'd say, Elma, what's this mean? She'd be like, oh, Brendan. So she'd get the dictionary out and she'd tell him what a word meant. And it'd be all these amazing books in his house, but he played a thick paddy when he came out.
Wow.
And he was I saw him hold audience with people and I thought, I'm with him. You know what I mean? It was cool. He's really cool.